Yeah, hi. My name is Dr. Rajat Chauhan, and we are starting a series starting next week on Tuesday in Business of Life for how to start running, or if you're a beginner runner and if you're training for your first half marathon. Anyways, today we're doing a Facebook Live with Pam Storey. Pam is a good friend from London, UK, and I had hosted her way back 2004, Pam?
Yes, 2004, yes.
And tell me about it.
Well, I was taking part in a marathon in London in 2004. It was in a very small garden near a university campus, and I met Rajat there that day. We ran 136 times around this little garden to make up marathon distance, which was great fun. And much to everybody's surprise, I won the marathon.
So tell us more. So, when did you start running? When did you pick up running?
Well, I came from a family that did no sport at all, and so I wasn't encouraged to do anything in the way of activity apart from walking. My parents never had a car, so we used to walk everywhere. So I suppose I was always fairly fit. But when I got to 35, both my parents were having problems with their heart, elderly people, and heart problems, and I thought, I've got to do something here, that's not going to happen to me. And it coincided with a big life change. I moved from South London to another part of England with the company that I was working for, and there was a leisure centre next to our office. So I started going there and found out they were starting a jogging club, and I was one of the founder members, about 12 of us. With a young man who was going to coach us, and the majority of the 12 of us had not run before. So this is how it started. We literally started walking to the local park, and then we'd start running, and we'd run to a certain tree, and then we'd have to walk a little bit, and then we'd run to another tree, and then we'd walk a bit more, and so this went on. And we did this once a week for several weeks. And eventually we got to the point where we could all actually run the whole distance around this park, which was quite an achievement. And then one day the coach said, right, we're going out on the road now. Ah, okay, how far? And it was about 3 times the distance we'd run before, so off we went. And he continued coaching us until eventually we could do a half marathon. And 21 kilometres, half of a marathon distance, we all went off to a race. And we had a great day, and so I just continued training from there, and then eventually joined the local athletic club and trained for my first marathon.
So what happened during the first marathon?
Well, when I was training for the marathon, I had a slight accident during a training run one day, and I sprained my ankle about 3 weeks before I was due to run the marathon. And so I couldn't run between that time and the actual date of the marathon. The longest training run I'd done at that point in time was 17 miles. And I thought that would be sufficient. The day of the race came, my ankle was healed, so okay, I'll do it. And I started running, and I ran. When I got to 17 miles, I looked around me. Nobody in front of me. Nobody behind me. Had I gone the wrong way? And I was tired, and I wanted to walk, and I just didn't know I was allowed to walk in a marathon. I thought I had to run the whole way.
Running event, right?
So yeah, I came across a first aid ambulance at the side of the road that was looking after the runners, and I just calmly unpinned my running number, my bib, and I walked up to these guys and said, I'm dropping out. Can you take me back to the start of the marathon? And they said, oh, are you injured? And I said, no, I just can't run any further. And it was just coincidence that that was a 17-mile point, and that was the longest I'd ever run before. So the first marathon was a did not finish, as we say. Yeah, it's a bit of a disaster. But a month later, I was taken by some friends to another marathon, and I completed it the second attempt.
Great.
And the rest is history, really. I've just enjoyed my running ever since. Not always marathons, sometimes half marathons, shorter distances, and just generally ticking over and keeping fit. And of course, as time went on and I'm getting older, I'm getting a bit slower, but I still love my running. Absolutely love it.
Right. And now just comparing things like how were runners that time versus today, with the UK scene at least. What was it like?
At that time, we'd gone through a phase when we had the first London Marathon in 1981. After that, nearly all the big cities in Great Britain wanted to put on a marathon, so there was a big, what you might call a running boom.
Right.
And then after a few years that started to drop off, and it got to the point where there may have only been one marathon a month and nothing between December and March. Oh, they'd say the weather would be too bad, so and very little in July, August, it would be too hot. So we were quite limited on the amount of marathons we could do in those days. But in recent years it's changed, and now in the UK there's over 300 marathons every year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And what about gear? The shoes. There's so much about shoes and the t-shirts
Well,
and the gear.
we tell people when they first want to start running and they ask our advice, the most important item of clothing is the shoes. You must go to a shop that specialises in running, not just one of these general sports shops, a specialist running shop, and tell them that you're running your first marathon and you need a proper pair of running shoes, and they will hopefully not charge you too much. Get your first shoes. You can wear a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. It doesn't have to be running specific gear, but you must, very important, I'm sure Rajat will agree with me, to get a good pair of running shoes. You don't have to pay a lot of money if you're just a beginner, but that is important because you could get injured so easily if you're not wearing good shoes.
And what are your thoughts about bare feet running?
I've never run barefoot. I know a lot of people do, or some people have got shoes that they call them monkey feet. they're just a sole with 5 toes attached to the sort of sole. Very minimalist shoes. I've never wanted to try them, but those people that do use them love them.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Right. And 2006 you got injured. What happened? Just a little bit, how did the injury happen? How did you get back?
When you start doing a lot of marathons and you think, maybe I could do 100, it's what I call getting mixed up in bad company. You join a running club and you meet all these people and all they ever talk about is marathons, and you think, okay, let's see if I can do 100. And so I planned for 2006 that I would do my 100th marathon in the October of that year. And I had 10 marathons planned for that year to get me to my 100th. And people that are in this running scene say it's the worst year of your life because you're so scared that you might get injured or that a race might get cancelled. The year prior, 2005, towards the end of the year, I picked up an injury. I didn't know what it was, I didn't know what had caused it. Terrific pain right down my right leg, all the way down. It was so painful I couldn't even take my little dog for a walk. And realising that I got all these races planned to get me to my 100th, I thought I have to do something about it. Anyway, I got some treatment from a friend of mine who's a very good physiotherapist, and he managed to get me back on the road. I did miss 2 marathons. Fortunately, I'd made a contingency plan of fitted 2 more in later in the year, and all was good. I got to Ireland, to Dublin, the capital of Ireland, and there I did my 100th marathon.
Awesome. So what's your advice to people who are new to running? I mean, there's a question right now from Anita Mitra. She's 56 and aspires to run, but she does not know how to start the right way. What do you say?
Okay, well, you'll laugh when I say this, but when people ask this question, the first thing I say is get a dog. Because if you've got a little dog, you've got to go out walking every day, and that's a good way to start. And if for whatever reason you can't get a dog, go out maybe 3-4 times a week, walk for say 20 minutes, brisk walk, and then as the time goes on you build that up, you walk a bit longer, and then you start going a little bit quicker, you jog a little bit, you walk a little bit, and eventually you'll find you can keep going maybe for half an hour, 45 minutes, even an hour without having to walk. You've become a runner. That's the way to do it.
What about this rush? A lot of people too soon, like, in the very first you want to do 100 kilometers and all that. What's your take on that?
Personally, I would say don't even think about that. I was training for over a year before I contemplated my first marathon. We hear about these people that are in the pub with their friends and they've been watching the London Marathon on the television and their friends say, I bet you couldn't do that. And he's, yes, I can, it's easy.
Yeah.
And they do very little training. I've met them when I've been running the London Marathon. And you say, what's the longest run you've done? And they say, oh, about 5 miles. You know, they run for about an hour, something like that. And they're the people that towards the end are in agony. They just can't walk. They're hobbling along, trying to get to the finish line. And then for a week afterwards, they can't run. Some can't walk. Some can't even go to work because their feet are so bad. You've got to be sensible about it. I would say, if you're thinking of doing long distance, and from that I would say half marathons and more, good training, build up to it gradually.
Awesome.
Join a club, yeah, join a jogging club or a running club. There'd be people that are trained to look after beginners, novices, and they'll set you on the right road. Yeah.
You'd mentioned something about injuries, the importance of strength training, Pilates, yoga.
Yeah, I did do Pilates for a time. I've probably had nearly every running injury possible in the years I've been running. But you've got to listen to the advice of people that know what they're talking about. There's these experts that specialise in running injuries, and if they tell you to rest, you rest. That means no running at all. Not just, oh, I think I'll just go out for 10 minutes. Rest means literally rest. Because injuries aren't going to heal. I know a guy that's had an injured Achilles tendon for years, and he's dosed up with painkillers every time he runs a marathon because he has never rested that injury, and it's never going to heal if it's not rested. It's one of the worst injuries you can get because the Achilles tendon at the back of the ankle, the blood supply there is not very good, and it's the blood supply that helps the healing. If you get that injury, that's not good. And this guy, he's run getting close to 1,000 marathons. You'd think he'd know better, but he's been running on painkillers for years.
But that's a problem because he's run so much. He's
never given that injury a chance to heal properly. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the T-shirt then. So when did the Supergirl happen?
The T-shirt. Well, when I first met Rajat when he was in studying in London, he had a friend there. She was an American girl called Siri.
Siri Turgeson. And I was telling her that I wanted to run a marathon in fancy dress to raise some money for a charity that I was involved in, but I didn't know what the costume would be. Well, I knew who I was going to run with. I've got a friend who had run over 100 marathons dressed as Superman. Now, the costume could have been Wonder Woman, it could have been anything. Siri said, I'll lend you a costume, and lo and behold, it was Supergirl. So I became the oldest Supergirl in the world, and I've now run 14 London marathons with Superman, wearing the Supergirl costume. And when I went to Dublin to do my 100th marathon, Superman came with me, and we ran in our costumes when I did my 100th marathon. It was brilliant. It was a wonderful experience, yeah. So yeah, I'm the oldest Supergirl in the world, but it doesn't matter, I'm fit enough to run, Yeah, since you're saying about age, so there's always this thing that I get as a doctor when people are coming to me, hey, am I too old? I'm 32, and am I too old to run? The doctors are telling them that why do you want to run, you'll ruin your knees. What do you say?
It always helps if your doctor's a runner. That's the first thing, because he will understand. Some doctors just think we're crazy, why do people want to go out and run, we're not designed to do that and all this sort of thing. But I would say to anyone that is completely a beginner and perhaps a little overweight, before you start exercising, go and see your doctor. Get checked over, just make sure you haven't got any issues like high blood pressure or any heart problems or anything like that. Doctor will check you and will give you the go-ahead if he thinks you're fit enough, and then you can make a start. But I've seen people taking part in events that are absolutely this wide, and I'm thinking, you know, does your doctor know you're running? You know, but they've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is the way people lose weight, of course, is to start exercising and sensible diet. It's not all about running. You've got to eat sensible food as well.
But the doctor needs to be a runner.
I would say it certainly helps. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the times the naysayers, they're the biggest naysayers otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Yeah.
What challenges did you have being women running? Because that's a very big challenge that we have in the Indian society.
Yeah, we don't have any issues at all. I think probably 20, 30 years ago, not so many women would go out and run. I remember reading a story once about a lady that needed to lose some weight. She wanted to go running, and I'm probably going back to the 1980s. She would go out at night time with a coat on, with a handbag, because she was too embarrassed for her neighbours to see her running. But she'd persevered. She went out every night. She walked, and then she started jogging, and then she left the handbag behind. Then she got some shorts and a t-shirt, and she ended up running lots of marathons.
Super.
But that's how she started.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a question here from Monica that she has a very busy schedule, and whatever time is left, I feel lazy to hit the gym. Could you please share what still motivates you to keep going? I think that's...
I think I've said it all, really. Yeah, it's keeping me fit, healthy, hopefully, and it's great fun. And I've met some wonderful people during my running career, and I've just been to places all over Europe that I would never have visited before to run marathons. And I've no intention of stopping. I was asked once by a newspaper reporter, when are you going to stop running? And I said, when they carry me out in a wooden box.
Brilliant, I love that.
Yeah.
And just actually, since you say that, so you're planning to do your 200th marathon next year,
my
right?
200th marathon will be on the 3rd of June next year in the UK, and that's actually 3 days after my 70th birthday, so that's going to be a special weekend. I think we might have a drink that weekend, and it won't be water.
All right. So there was a question just now about rest. How important is rest? And we've dealt with it, but still more on it.
Yeah, when I started training for my first marathon with the athletic club that I belong to, the coach set me a schedule to follow, and to start with, I wasn't running every day. It was like maybe every other day, and then gradually building up from that. I still, even to this day, have 2 days rest every week. I only run, when I'm running at the most, I run 5 days a week. I have 2 rest days. The rest day is usually a Wednesday, and depending whether the marathon is on a Saturday or a Sunday, then if I'm resting on Sunday, that's an important day for me because I'm a Christian and I like to go to church, but unfortunately a lot of the marathons are on Sunday, so, but I always rest the day before a marathon. Some people don't, some people run maybe a short distance the day before, but I've found personally it suits me not to run at all the day before a marathon. Rest, have plenty of food to eat and just relax. Wait for the big day.
Right. And there's another question from Soumya Tiwari. Maintaining a constant pace is a big issue for her. Can you suggest some tips to run at a pace which can help in covering longer distances? I mean, just Soumya, so just to let you know, Pam here happily runs 24-hour races and all that. So I think no better person than her to tell you about how to pace it.
Do you know, when I first started running, one thing that they said to me was, if you can't hold a conversation with the person you're running with, you're going too fast. So that's probably true. You know, you run at the pace that is comfortable for you until you get really seriously and obviously start racing, then that's different. But when I started running, we had watches that were literally a stopwatch. Just stop, start, you knew the time you'd run for. With the technology we've got these days, we've got GPS watches that can tell you the distance you've run, the time you've run, and the pace you are running at. And they're wonderful because you can, you know, maybe every hour you look at that and think, I'm going too fast or I'm going too slow. You know. So, yeah, I recommend these running watches, which does help with your pace judgment.
And what about breathing? You said something about conversation, but breathing
Well, that's
wise,
right, yeah. Inevitably, if you're really going to be seriously racing, you're going to get out of breath. I mean, that's going to happen. But for people that are just, social runners, let's say, you don't need to go to those extremes.
Exactly, conversational piece, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chayan Rastogi has a question. Won't running have a bad impact on knees for people who are overweight?
When I talk to people about running, the first question's always, how are your knees? I can't really honestly answer that question because I've never been overweight, so I've never experienced that. I would say obviously there's more chance of you having a problem with your knees if you're overweight. The good reason to start losing weight as quick as you can. The only way you're going to lose weight is exercise, and don't eat too much. You've got to control your diet carefully. I don't know about knees. I've had knee problems in the past, but it heals if you rest it. But I can't really comment on people overweight. I'm sure Rajat can, because he probably sees them at his clinic.
So I'll take that. So basically overweight, and I think Pam was already talking about that. I think the number one thing is get stronger first.
Yes.
So if you have more muscle, then it can carry the weight. So get stronger first rather than just trying to run non-stop or running right away. And that's the bigger issue. People take it up and then they hurt and they think it's running. No, it's not running. It's the wrong running.
Yes.
So please get stronger first if you're overweight. So there's a question from Sohini saying, is it actually a good idea to run every day when you're starting out? We've actually answered it, but again, we'll take it on. Or when you're trying to increase your mileage. So again, Pam.
Yeah, it's a personal thing really. I mean, not everybody's got time in their life to run every day. Some people... The other thing people ask me is, what is the best time of day to run? Now that depends on your lifestyle. If you're working full time, some people prefer to go out running before they go to work, and then it's done. Then they can get on with their day job, and then their families in the evening, whatever. Other people prefer to do their day's work and then run in the evenings. So there's no exact answer to that. It's whatever suits you best. But as I said before, you don't have to run every day. I mean, it's not essential.
Brilliant. And a little bit, just touching upon, I know we are talking about to the beginners here, but because of what you've done in ultra running, what are you planning after 70? You want to hold that record for a bit, the 24-hour run? What time?
Well, I did my first 24-hour race, and perhaps we should explain what that is. That's literally running for 24 hours non-stop. You don't go to bed during the night. You just keep going. The object of the 24-hour race is to do as many kilometres as you can in that time limit. If you're sitting down having your meal, you're not logging up kilometres. If you're laying in your tent having a sleep, you're not logging up kilometres. You need to stay out for 24 hours if you can. If you need to walk a bit, at least you're still achieving distance. So I did my first 24-hour race in May 2002. I'd been to watch a couple of these races, and something appealed to me about ultra-distance running as to how the human body can deal with that. And every runner has a different way of dealing with it. As I say, some do have a rest. Some walk for a time and then run a certain time, walk for a time, run a certain time. Everyone's got a different way of dealing with it. I've done 16 24-hour races now, 14 of those on 400-metre track. I just suddenly thought earlier this year, what is the record for the over 70 British lady for 24 hours on a 400-metre track? I checked it out, and it's somebody I know the lady that set the record, and it's approximately 84 miles.
Approximately how many kilometres? 140-ish.
Yes,
let's leave it at that.
Yeah, 140 kilometres. It's a long way.
Yeah.
My best was 96 kilometres, not quite 100 miles, 96 kilometres, a long time ago. But I just thought, could I break that record? So I'm going to try and do one very soon after my 70th birthday. I will try and do another 24-hour track race to see if I can break that British record. Maybe I won't, but I've got to try.
Brilliant, brilliant, Pam. Thank you for coming along, Pam.
Thank you.
So what we'll be doing is, starting next week, we'll be coming out with a series. I'm writing that series. Basically, how should new runners be training for a Delhi half marathon or a 10K there, or if they're doing a 6K. So very basic tips how to get off and get started with that. Okay, so check that out on Business of Life, and that's about it. So it was wonderful talking to the Supergirl, and thank you so much for coming in, Shiv.
Thank you.